YouTube, Salivate Metal here, and as most of you are probably aware, unless you're living under a rock, and not necessarily a gold rock, the United States presidential primary season is in effect, and the election has gotten heated, very much so in the primary season, especially on the Republican side of the aisle, although there was a recent Democratic debate that got pretty heated as well, leading up to the New York State primary. Now, on the Republican side, Donald Trump will probably win that primary, but I'm here to tell my viewers to watch a video from which I will post a link in the description below about the one presidential candidate. And looking through presidential candidate history in the primary season since Ronald Reagan or even before, I don't know of many or any at all that has suggested what Ted Cruz is suggesting, and that is some tie to a gold standard. And I think it's quite fascinating, and you don't hear much about it in the news, although he has mentioned it several times in some interviews that I've watched of him in the past. And so it is quite fascinating. And in the interview, he discusses that, it touches on it very briefly. And I'm sure he could go into detail about it, but probably the average viewer, other than those of us in the precious metals community, probably would get lost in the details. So he doesn't divulge the details of such. However, it is quite fascinating that he mentions some tied to the gold standard. He is not espousing a complete gold standard, which I think is good, because as some may realize, the gold standard that was in effect from the 1930s until it was completely removed in 1931, we find that it was certainly corrupt, and the gold certificates, there were more certificates than there were for gold. And any system that is in effect where humans are involved has a potential to be corrupt, but at least it provides some basis, at least some sort of rules-based system, monetary system, to stabilize the dollar. And to me, that is paramount, because what we've been seeing going on throughout, especially the past 15 16 months, we've seen a weak dollar and then a strong dollar and then a weak dollar and a strong dollar. It's gone up and down, and we've not seen any real stabilization. Now, keep in mind, the entire world is in an economic crisis now at the moment, but with much of the world reserves currencies highly reliant on the dollar is kind of still sort of the, quote, king of the currencies, so to speak. And it is important, I think, for world stability, I think, in effect, to have a stabilized dollar, so that that ripple effect to other currencies will take into effect. They don't really discuss that much in this interview, but I think it is quite fascinating. And love him or hate him, Ted Cruz is incredibly intelligent, and it is certainly loves to discuss policy, and he does so in this interview. And I think many in the precious metals community will hear a lot of things that we've been talking about here for years here on YouTube, and agrees a lot with a lot of what we say. So take that into effect. And yes, this is a biased video. I certainly am a Ted Cruz fan, and will certainly vote for him. And even if you're a Democrat or fiscal liberal, I think it is wise to see what the other side says. And this interview was 40 some odd minutes long, and I encourage you all to watch every second of it, because I think he's challenged on some points and he answers the questions more directly. One criticism I do have of Ted Cruz is there are times where he is asked a question and he goes around the bend and gives too much background and gives a very short answer without really discussing the aspect of the question. He's not as direct as I would like for him to be a lot of times. And also, he smiles weird, but that's okay. I talk weird. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you will take the time to watch that video, from which I will post a link in the description below. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for watching, and encourage you to please rate, comment, and subscribe.